sometimes you just get handed crazy SJW nonsense on a silver platter, just like the NEA did for us today. They gave us a beautiful gift of this information that we can now mock incessantly and make fun of, as we rightfully should. Listen, on this channel yesterday, I posted a video outlining specifically what is being taught in one Nevada school, a required course for high school students to take in order to graduate. They are being taught things like the family unit, it reinforces traditional stereotypes, or the government, it reinforces racial stereotypes, or white people are the only people that can be racist. They are literally being taught these things in a high school class. I have it on this channel. Go watch it. Don't believe me. So when I saw this tweet from the NEA today, I have to admit, I had a little moment of thinking, this is a perfect chance for mockery, which is what these people rightfully deserve. The NEA tweets, what anti-racism really means for educators. Oh, do tell, NEA, do tell us what the racist, anti-racist ideology really means. Anti-racist work in all schools is essential. It is the exercise of hope, the practice of undoing and dismantling systems of oppression, the practice of freedom and truth-telling. You know, what the NEA is neglecting in this statement of anti-racist work being a bastion of hope and the undoing and dismantling systems of oppression is that the people who are advancing anti-racist ideology specifically want to tear down the NEA. They do not want the NEA to exist. The NEA is one of the systems of oppression that they are talking about. That is specifically what it is. But they think if they just play nicely with the anti-racists, they're going to let them be. And we all know that that's not the case. But then the NEA provides a link over here to teaching tolerance, which I think is part of the it has something to do with the Southern Poverty Law Center. Let's see, founded by the Southern Poverty Law Center. That's what we are dedicated to, creating equitable school experiences for students and supporting educators. So, you know, this isn't going to be Orwellian at all. So here's what we're going to do in this video, folks. We're going to read this article. I haven't read it yet. We are going to discover this article together. It was published very recently, and I'm going to mock it incessantly. It's just a good little bit of fun. But before we get into that, folks, if you have been watching my recent videos, you know that YouTube is bending me over and doing something inappropriate to me that I'm not going to say because they will use it as an excuse to demonetize this video. So YouTube's been pulling all sorts of shenanigans with my channel lately. They're unsubscribing people from my channel. They're suppressing my content. They're turning off notifications. They're doing all sorts of stuff to try to screw with me. Now, the way that you can help me out is if you appreciate what I'm doing, maybe you've watched a couple other videos, please consider subscribing, turning on those notifications, leaving a comment to feed that algorithm, giving it a thumbs up. Another thing you can do is consider joining my Locals community. My Locals is where I post all of my videos completely ad-free. So if you don't like the 8,000 ads that YouTube places on my videos, you can watch them in my Locals completely ad-free. That is for free. You can join Locals for free. There's also an option if you want to become a supporter of my work, give like $5 a month to help me out. You have that option too, but you do not need to pay just to join and kind of check it out. The information about Locals and all of the alt tech platforms that I'm on are actually right in this video. They're also in the description below. So I really appreciate your help, guys. Let's read this article. What anti-racism really means for educators. As anti-racism becomes a popular goal for schools around the nation, this Teaching Tolerance Advisory Board member considers what it really means to be an anti-racist educator. You know, Trump just the other day banned critical race theory training for federal contractors. He had actually banned it for federal agencies at first, but now he's gone one step further and had banned it for federal contractors. I really wonder how long it's going to be before Trump says, oh, schools that are getting federal funds, we ain't giving you your federal funds if you're teaching racist nonsense to our kids. I really hope he doesn't. Defund the schools. If they want to do this nonsense, if they want to teach our kids how to be racist, then they don't get federal tax dollars to do it. No, that's how I feel about it. I am like, I have lost all sense of like nuance or anything when it comes to this crap, because you know what? The people who are perpetuating this, they don't care about that. They don't care about being reasonable. They don't care about being objective. They don't even care about providing data to show the results of these programs. They don't care about that at all. You got to fight fire with fire sometimes, man. I was having a conversation with someone the other day on here, I think, in the comments here, and they were a little taken aback that I did not receive what they were telling me. Well, what they told me was basically that I was a racist, and then they expected me to have a reasonable conversation with them. Look, I will come and have a reasonable conversation with anyone that approaches the conversation in good faith. If you are stepping into the conversation and saying, you're a racist, I am not going to have a reasonable conversation with you, because you have shown that you do not deserve that consideration. And so far as I am concerned, these anti-racist people are doing exactly that. If the conversation starts with, you're with us or against us, and that's just all there is to it, and if you aren't with us, then you are a racist. No, you don't get reasonableness from me anymore. No. You gotta rein in the crazy. If you don't rein in the crazy, you don't get a reasonable conversation. Let's keep going. Anti-racist work in schools is essential. It is the exercise of hope, the practice of undoing and dismantling systems of oppression, the practice of freedom and truth-telling. Anti-racist work is the practice of healing and of restoring. It is a practice of love. This is the most Orwellian opening paragraph I have ever read in my life. That's literally Orwellian. Everything that they say in that paragraph, anti-racist education is actually the opposite of every single thing they say in that paragraph. We live in a time where it is increasingly clear that Black lives are deeply undervalued and violently treated, and the words anti-racist and equity became dangerously trendy. Educators should pause and grapple with what that truly means. You want to have a struggle session. It is important that we have a shared understanding of what anti-racism in schools looks like, that we have an understanding of what is not, and what we embrace the understanding that anti-racist work is never completely finished. And isn't that convenient for people who sell these anti-racist programs, that the work is never finished? Never, ever, ever. You're going to have to keep paying us money for all time. It is never completely finished, nor does it always look the same. That's code for we can make anything up. We can make, I was going to say a swear word, we can make stuff up and call it anti-racist. I hope, however, you may begin to think about anti-racist work in schools in ways that are holistic and practical. Okay, so listen, I am going to make fun of this article. I'm going to read it in dramatic voice. I haven't done a dramatic voice reading in a while. But here's something I want to say before I do that. If you have kids, you need to understand that we are literally, this is actually a serious article. This is not something that they're publishing as a joke. They are telling your kids' teachers how to teach this stuff. So chances are, if you have kids in the, well, not even just public schools anymore, because the class stuff I looked at the other day was a charter school, but if you have kids in school, you need to know what they're teaching your kids, okay? And what I'm about to outline and mock incessantly from this article are literally things that your kids are learning. So we're going to make fun of it because levity is often a good way to deal with information like this. But this is also serious too, so really make sure you're watching out for all the things we're about to review, because they're about to tell you exactly what they mean by anti-racist education. Let's keep going. Anti-racist educators believe in love. Many educators operate from the premise that they love their students. In fact, many harmful and violent teachers operate from a place of love. I'm actually convinced, I'm actually convinced these people have no idea what the word love means. I truly believe that. I truly believe that the people who get sucked into this ideology, they never learn how to love themselves. Therefore, they have no idea what it means to express love to other people. But anti-racist educators understand that love and silence are deeply contradictory. The love that underpins our practice is not the form of love often associated with passivity or inaction. So, okay, what they're telling you is that every time you call someone a racist, you're expressing love. I'm serious. That's what they're saying. Every time you call someone a racist simply because they disagree with you, that is an expression of love. And people believe this. They believe it. For anti-racist educators, love is action. Love is sharp. Love is truth-telling. See? Love is fighting for what is right. Love is doing what is right. Told ya. Told ya. Anti-racist educators, particularly those who teach black students, because they're only interested in black students, they're not interested in Hispanic students, they're not interested in Native Americans, they're not interested in Asians, only black students. That is all that anti-racism is interested in, is white and black, and everyone else can go screw. And this is why the Hispanic community is probably going to go resoundingly for Donald Trump, because of this nonsense right here. Particularly those who teach black students understand that part of the act of love is understanding what this country has intentionally done and continues to do to black bodies. I hate that these people talk about black and brown bodies, and in the same sentence as love, no less. When you talk about someone as a body, you are inherently dehumanizing them. That is exactly what it is. That is literally what it is. You are more than your physical body. Everyone instinctively knows this. It is love that compels our practices. Anti-racist educators understand that in love, they must never be silent. Ever. Anti-racist educators understand that their positions as teachers, leaders, policymakers, and social workers are positions of great privilege and power, and they have the ability to leave the world better than they found it. Well, better is a relative term, isn't it? NEA, isn't it? Anti-racist educators study and are committed to deepening their critical consciousness. Anti-racist educators understand that they must be lifelong learners. They believe in the power of developing critical consciousness, which comes from reading, from studying, from deep scholarship. Okay, most teachers do not do deep scholarship. I'm sorry. Most teachers come in, they teach their class, they go home, they grade homework, whatever. They're not doing deep scholarship. Reading White Fragility is not deep scholarship. From humility and listening to and engaging with others, and from constantly examining and re-examining their own ideas and beliefs and truths. So what they're saying there is anti-racist educators have to unlearn everything that the white supremacist system taught them and relearn in the guise of anti-racism. Educators who seek to be anti-racist must understand the nuanced, complex, deliberate design of racism in the United States and across the diaspora. Educators in the United States who are seeking to be anti-racist have to acknowledge and recognize that this country was built upon racist principles. So Donald Trump has just announced the 1776 Project, which is basically a direct attack on like the 1619 Project, which says that America was founded when the first slaves got here, blah, blah, blah. So what this is saying is that educators, the people responsible for teaching your children, have to acknowledge and recognize that the United States of America is a fundamentally racist country. This is from a website that is promoted by the Southern Poverty Law Center and has just been tweeted out by the National Education Association. They are telling their members that they have to believe that America is a fundamentally racist country. It's right there, guys. Right there. I'm not making this up. It's right there. They must be willing to commit to a lifestyle. A lifestyle? What the hell? A lifestyle of studying what racism looks like in all its forms. It's like these people are like talking about anti-racist training like it's yoga or something. This means that we have to know how to identify racism, how racism is carried out and built in systems and structures, how people hold, sustain, maintain, and perpetuate racism, and how people of color can internalize racism. Oh, how people of color can internalize racism, like when they question whether or not America is a fundamentally racist country. What these people are going to come back with, oh, honey, you've just internalized racism. You just hate yourself. It's okay. It's just part of the system in which you were socialized. Anti-racist educators know and continue to seek out the names of those who are never called upon and the work is hardly ever recognized. They recognize that we should study more deeply the tactics of the Black Panther Party. Okay. And the Freedom Schools. I have no idea how to pronounce that name. This doctor dude is a true leader and scholar warrior in this regard, as her work focuses on the ways the Black literary societies of the early 1800s operated and creates a framework for how we should be using the power of literacy to teach and empower Black students. Okay, whatever. Anti-racist educators believe in the intellectual power of teaching. They believe they have to honor the practice and take teaching very, very seriously, because they know and understand how schools have been used to oppress and liberate. So what this is saying is that anti-racist educators need to teach the future generation to liberate themselves from a fundamentally racist system. They're saying, like, in the video I showed the other day of the class materials, you literally see the teacher calling her students. The teacher is referring to her students as social justice warriors. That's what this is saying, guys. This is what this is reinforcing. Let's keep going. Anti-racist educators move away from checklists and embrace a holistic approach. Anti-racist education and anti-racist schooling cannot be packaged or prescribed, arranged into a checklist, rubric, or formula, because checklist, rubric, and formulas are all tools of the white supremacy. Not making that up. Anti-racist educators understand that anti-racist work begins with the self. They begin by grappling with their beliefs, mindsets, philosophies, and biases about the world, education, and their students. They work to become conscious of the intentional, multiple ways schools mirror society and how all aspects of school systems are designed to uphold. Okay, hang on, this last sentence is important. How all aspects of school systems are designed to uphold oppressive aims in the societies in which they operate. So you remember when I said that the NEA doesn't understand that the people who are pushing this anti-racist ideology want to tear them down too? They just said it. Literally just said it in the article. How all aspects of school systems are designed to uphold the oppressive aims of the society in which they operate. They're literally saying that schools are oppressive. And what do we do with oppressive things? We tear them down or burn them down and start again. Anti-racist educators recognize that schools are doing exactly what they were built to do in this country. Exclude, silence, and erase. Holy crap, guys. Holy crap. Promote white supremacy. Oh my God. Can we just take a moment to appreciate this? Can we just take a minute? Anti-racist educators recognize that schools are doing exactly what they were built to do in this country. Exclude, silence, erase, and promote white supremacy. This is coming from the NEA. The NEA. Are you mad yet? Are you angry yet? Because I know, like, I'm really resisting the urge to swear right now. They recognize, therefore, that upending racism in schools will end schooling practices as we have come to know them. Okay. All right. To think about all parts of schooling, not just the classroom, anti-racist educators take a holistic approach and consider many dimensions of schooling through an anti-racist, anti-oppressive lens. These dimensions include the demographics of the staff, particularly in schools with predominantly BIPOC students, school leadership and past school leadership, school governance, school curriculum, special education, teaching, blah, 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 all the things associated with schooling. It is important to recognize that this list is not exhaustive. In order to be anti-racist educators, we must be steadfast and consistent and consider all aspects of schooling. We have to commit to continuously evolving, pushing back, studying, engaging in critical discourse with others, examining what is happening in our minds, bodies, and listening to students. Anti-racist educators understand that an anti-racist approach to schooling could very well mean an end to schools as we know them. Let's just say that again. Anti-racist educators understand, anti-racist educators understand that an anti-racist approach to schooling could very well mean an end to schools as we know them. They are telling you. They are telling you exactly what they want to do. Are you okay with this? I'm not okay with this. I don't even have kids. I'm not okay with this. They understand this is how we begin to be free. Guys, they're literally saying to burn down the schools. Not literally, YouTube. They're figuratively saying to burn down the schools. They're literally saying to end schooling as we know it. And that is how we begin to be free. The only way to be free is by burning down everything that we have built in this country over the last 300 goddamn years. Oh, these people. I just don't know, guys. I don't know. Okay, let's finish up. We're committed. We're doing it. Anti-racism is healing and love in action. The work of anti-racism in schools has come incomplete without an understanding of the integral role that healing must play in the practices of freedom. Healers are people who remove harm and reduce the impact of violence, people who restore and repair. The greatest of healers consider the whole person and seek to get to the heart of the matter. Anti-racist educators understand that all forms of oppression are connected, that it is not possible to care about racism and disregard the violence in sexism, classism, homophobia, and more. The hearts of anti-racist advocates push us to be concerned for all violations of human rights. The ways that we as educators must care about ourselves and create educational spaces that center our healing, our student bodies is crucial. We must create educational spaces that tend to harm we must create educational spaces that tend to the harm. I thought it said tend to harm. I was like, what? That tend to the harm and violence that has been enacted on BIPOC bodies and minds, specifically those of our children. Anti-racist educators recognize that this is the work of undoing, of dismantling, of liberating, of healing, of truth-telling. It is our collective work. This person literally called to the end of schooling as we know it. And it was tweeted out with the full force and effect of the National Education Association, because they think that this is what is going to keep the mob from their doorstep. All right, guys. That's all I got for this one. I think that's quite enough. I'll see you soon.